Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramhamsa Prabhupada Stotra Satyashi Shrimad Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. ISKCON BPT Founder Acharya His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Namo Krishna. Hare Krishna Pastai Bhutale. Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati. Gauravani Pracharine. Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschita Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, The Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 3, Pure Devotional Service, Text 22. Barhaite te nayane naranam lingani vishnur nanarikshato ye padon rinamto juma janma bhajo kshetrani nanu vrajato hareryao. Barhaite te nayane naranam lingani vishnur nanarikshato ye padon rinamto juma janma bhajo kshetrani nanu vrajato hareryo. Barhaite te nayane naranam lingani vishnur nanarikshato ye padon rinamto juma janma bhajo kshetrani nanu vrajato hareryao. Others chant, please.
You're muted, Prabhu.
Barhayite te noyane naranam lingani vishnur nirikshito ye padavninam tau druma janma bhajao kshetrani nanu vrajato hareryao.
Barhaite te nayane naranam lingani vishnu nanirikshato ye padaundrinam mitau drumajanma bhajau kshetrani nanu vrajato hareryo. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Barhaite te nayana naranam lingani vishno nanirikshato ye padao niranam tau druma janma bhajao kshetrani nanu vrajato hareryao. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Barhayite te nayane naranam lingani vishnur nanirikshato ye padau nrinam tau drumajanma bhajo kshetrani nanu vrajato hareryao.
Okay, thank you. Word for word translation. Barhaite, like plumes of a peacock. Te, those. Nayane, eyes. Naranam, of men. Lingani, forms. Vishnu, of the personality of Godhead. Na, does not. Nirikshita, look upon. Yea, all such. Padao, legs. Nrinam, of men. Tau, those. Drumajanma, being born of the trees. Bajao, like that. Kshetrani, holy places. Na, never. Anuvrajata, goes after. Hare, of the Lord. Yao, which. Translation. The eyes which do not look at the symbolic representations of the personality of Godhead Vishnu, his forms, name, quality, etc., are like those printed on the plumes of the peacock, and the legs which do not move to the holy places where the Lord is remembered are considered to be like tree trunks. Purport. Especially for the householder devotees, the path of deity worship is strongly recommended. As far as possible, every householder, by the direction of the spiritual master, must install the deity of Vishnu. Forms like Radha Krishna, Lakshmi Narayan, or Sita Ram, especially, or any other form of the Lord, like Nrsimha, Varaha, Gaurnitai, Matsya, Kurma, Shalagram Shila, and many other forms of Vishnu, like Trivikram, Keshava, Achyuta, Vasudev, Narayana, and Damodar, as recommended in the Vaishnav Tantras or Puranas. And one's family should worship strictly, following the directions and regulations of Archana Vidhi. Any member of the family who is above 12 years of age should be initiated by a bona fide spiritual master, and all the members of the household should be engaged in the daily service of the Lord, beginning from morning, 4 a.m., till night, 10 p.m., by performing Mangalarachik, Niranjana, Archana, Puja, Kirtan, Sringara, Bhoga Vaikali, Sandhya Arachika, Pata, Bhoga at night, Shayana Arachik, etc. Engagement of such worship of the deity under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master will greatly help the householders to purify their very existence and make rapid progress in spiritual knowledge. Simple theoretical book knowledge is not sufficient for a neophyte devotee. Book knowledge is theoretical, whereas the Archana process is practical. Spiritual knowledge must be developed by a combination of theoretical and practical knowledge, and that is the guaranteed way for attainment of spiritual perfection. The training of devotional service for a neophyte devotee completely depends on the expert spiritual master who knows how to lead his disciple to make gradual progress towards the path back home, back to Godhead. One should not become a pseudo-spiritual master as a matter of business to meet one's family expenditures. One must be an expert spiritual master to deliver the disciple from the clutches of impending death. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has defined the bona fide qualities of a spiritual master, and one of the verses in that description reads, Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana Shringaratan Mandira Marjanado Yuktasya Bhaktams Chaniyunjatopi Vande Guru Shri Charanara Shri Vigraha is the archa, or suitable, worshipable form of the Lord, and the disciple should be engaged in worshiping the deity regularly by sringara, by proper decoration and dressing, as also by Mandira Marjana, the matter of cleansing the temple. The spiritual master teaches the neophyte devotee all these kindly and personally to help him gradually in the realization of the transcendental name, quality, forms, etc. of the Lord. Only attention engaged in the service of the Lord, especially in dressing and decorating the temple, accompanied by musical kirtan and spiritual instructions from scriptures, can save the common man from the hellish cinema attractions and rubbish sex songs broadcast everywhere by radios. If one is unable to maintain a temple at home, he should go to another temple where all the above performances are regularly executed. Visiting the temple of a devotee and looking at the profusely decorated forms of the Lord, well dressed in a well-decorated, sanctified temple, naturally infuse the mundane mind with spiritual inspiration. People should visit holy places like Vrindavan, where such temples and worship of the deity are specifically maintained. Formerly, all rich men, like kings and rich merchants, constructed such temples under the direction of expert devotees of the Lord, like the 6 Goswamis, and it is the duty of the common man to take advantage of these temples and festivals observed in the holy place of pilgrimage by following in the footsteps of great devotees, Anuvraja. One should not visit all these sanctified pilgrimage places and temples with sightseeing in mind, but one must go to such temples and sanctified places immortalized by the transcendental pastimes of the Lord and be guided by proper men who know the science. This is called Anuvraja. Anu means to follow. It is therefore best to follow the instructions of the bona fide spiritual master, even in visiting temples and the holy places of pilgrimage. One who does not move in that way is as good as a standing tree, condemned by the Lord not to move. The moving tendency of the human being is misused by visiting places for sightseeing. The best purpose of such transcendental tendencies could be fulfilled by visiting the holy places established by great acharyas, and thereby not being misled by the atheistic propaganda of money-making men who have no knowledge of spiritual matters. That's a pretty amazing purport. Barhaite te nayane naranam lingani vishnur nanarikshato ye padonrinam to juma janma bhajo kshetrani nanu rajato harer yao. The eyes which do not look at the symbolic representations of the personality of Godhead Vishnu, his forms, name, quality, etc., are like those printed on the plumes of the peacock. And the legs which do not move to the holy places where the Lord is remembered are considered to be like tree trunks. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschada Deshatarine. This is such a terrific section of the Bhagavatam, and this verse and purport is pretty amazing. Two things Srila Shukadev mentions. If your eyes are like the plumes of a peacock, you know, there's like an eye-like form on a peacock feather, and it's so beautiful with those colors and the shimmering reflections in them. So beautiful that Krishna chooses to use it to decorate his crown or his turban. But they're not actually eyes. They're a very beautiful, amazing thing. But if your eyes are like those eyes, eyes that don't see what? Eyes that don't see Lingani Vishnu, the form of the Lord. If your eyes are not being used to see the beautiful form of the Lord, then they're like the eyes of the peacock. They may be very beautiful with, I don't know, kajal, eyeshadow, fake eyelashes, whatever other eye makeup there is going on. So beautiful, but dead eyes if they're not used to see the Lord. May actually, spiritually speaking, you're blind, or you may as well be blind. If not used for lingani vishnor. Now, this term lingani is also very interesting, linga. Prabhupada, in the word for word, he translated as forms, but in the actual running translation, he translated as symbolic representations of the personality of Godhead. And this is interesting, and this is actually closer to the literal meaning of linga or lingani, that the deity, in one sense, it's a symbolic representation. In one sense, we'll unpack this a little bit, that Krishna is existing in the spiritual world eternally with no touch of matter or material contamination about him. So how are we to see him with these material eyes, with these, Prabhupada would say, these dull material senses? How are we going to see purely spiritual Krishna? Krishna is so kind that although he's fully spiritual without the least tinge of material contamination, because all of these energies, earth, water, fire, air, ether, etc., are all his energies, he can adopt a form in those so-called, quote unquote, material elements, and he can appear in that form, and he can remain fully uncontaminated by the matter, and he could present a purely spiritual vision of his existence for us. And this is linga. This is the form of, for example, which Prabhupada focused on, the form of the Lord in the temple. He also very intelligently expands that. He says in the translation, symbolic representations of the personality of Godhead, and in parentheses, his form, name, quality, etc. All of these things are linga. They're, in one sense, symbolic representations, just like in language, in any language in the world, material language. All language is representative. If you say table, that word is not the thing. It's representing. Just like one example that I read recently, calculus. There's the mathematical process of calculus used for finding limits and calculating the areas under curves and such things. So calculus. This word comes from the Latin word calculus, which means a pebble or a small stone. So not only does the word calculus not equal the thing calculus, but even the original meaning of the word is even another step removed from the thing. And the way it works is that calculus means little pebble or small stone, because in prehistoric times, counting was done by adding stones. I have one mango, so I'll put one stone. Then I get another mango, I'll put another stone. I have another mango, I'll put another stone. So I know that way I could keep track of how many mangoes I have, yes? So it's representative of something, and becomes the word calculus in Latin, becomes the concept of calculus in English. And all the world now knows what calculus is. So this is linga or representative. And yet there are ways and times in which that distance or stepping away of representation becomes minimized or eliminated. Just like a photo is not the person, the photo is a representation of the person. But if you have a photo of someone that you dearly love, when you look at that photo, that linga representation of the person, it's not the person, it's just a photo. But when you look at it, if you love the person, by looking at that representation, you'll feel your heart swell. So in that way, it still remains a representation, but it becomes closer, it becomes more direct, it becomes stronger. Or all language is representative, but when an expert poet, for example, can put those words together into a particular pattern and particular form, then those words put together can, to some degree, transcend their representative nature and directly touch us. And this happens to the infinite degree with Krishna. that Krishna's name is no longer a representation of Krishna. It's Krishna himself. Nama Chintamani Krishna, Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha, Sudho Purna Nitya Mukta, Abhina Twam Nami Namino. There is no difference in Krishna between the name Krishna and the person Krishna who is named Krishna. No more difference. When the deity comes in stone, metal, jewels, paint, earth, or even in the form within the mind, it's no longer a represent, or at least when a devotee understands that properly and has the devotion of sufficient degree, that is no longer a representation. It's directly Krishna. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was traveling, touring all over India, and he went and he heard the story of Sakshi Gopal, and he heard that story narrated to him, and he exclaimed, "My dear Lord, you are not a statue," speaking to the deity. "My Lord, you are not a statue, you are directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead." So all these things, Nama, Rupa, Guna, Lila, Sangha, Kshetra, Dhamma, all these things, in one sense, you could say, oh, they're representations of Krishna. The dust of Vrindavan is representative. The words in the book are representative. Krishna's form is representative. But on the transcendental platform, they are no longer representative. They are the very thing. So if you have that opportunity to perceive directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead with your dull material eyes, and you have that opportunity and you don't take that opportunity, you're wasting the purpose of your eyes. This is the point of this verse. And also because Lingani Vishnur refers not just to the deity in the temple, but to the name, form, qualities. This verse nicely encompasses all of the acts of devotional service wherein we contact Krishna directly through these so-called representative methods. Therefore, all the verses in this section, in that sense, are represented in today's verse. The ear holes like snake holes, the tongue like a frog, the head that is simply a burden, the body is that simply a corpse, the heart that is like a lump of stone or steel framed. All of these things are encompassed by those who neglect Lingani Vishnur, these manifestations of Krishna that he has given to us, that he has manifested for us to take advantage of. And if we don't take advantage of it, how condemned. Just imagine how condemned such a person is. To have that ability, you have eyes, and you're not using them to see the most beautiful, the most amazing, the most pure, supreme person in all creation, above all creation, and you're not using it for that. Imagine a temple where the deity is there, Krishna is there, or the holy dhams where Krishna and so many temples in the place of pastimes and Govardhan Hill and Yoga Peeth and Yamuna River, all of that is there, and you're not going there. You're not using your legs to go to that place. This is like the trunks of a tree. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in kind of a poetic analysis of this, that those whose eyes are like peacocks and don't see, if you're blind, what happens? You will simply wander off the path into the thorny field of samsara and be stuck and trapped there because you're blind. You can't see the path. You can't see which way to go. So you'll fall, just like also Prahlad Maharaj says, the blind leading the blind into a ditch. Yes. So here he's saying that you'll fall off the path, you'll fall into the thorny field and be stuck in this thorny field of samsara. And if you don't use your legs to visit the temple, to visit the holy places, those legs are like tree trunks. And he says the Yamadutas will come with their strong axes and cut those tree trunks down. So how condemned if we don't use our energy for these purposes? Just like in 2 days is Kartik. Kartik is beautiful. Kartik is glorious. Don't get me wrong about what I'm going to say. But one time, Prabhupada speaking about Kartik said, Kartik is like if there's a store that sells very nice things, and you're a customer at that store, and you always go to that store and you buy things that you like and that are beautiful and used and at a fair price. But once a year, that store will hold a sale. The sale is not for the regular customers. The regular customers are already going to that store. But the sale is to attract those people who don't go to that store. That, look, it's on sale, prices reduced, rock bottom prices, everything must go. Our prices are insane. Who's from New York and remembers that? Our prices are insane. What was his name? Crazy Eddie, was that it? But anyway, this is to attract those people who don't go to the store. So he said Kartik is like that. Devotees every day, they're chanting, they're going to the temple, they're worshiping the deities, they're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, they're preaching, they're doing every single day, they're doing that service. They don't need an enticement to do it. They're already doing it. But those people who are not so committed, or perhaps know nothing or have no interest in Krishna consciousness, there's this attraction. Oh, you come to the temple on Kartik, and it's like 1,000,000 times this or 1,000 times this, or you chant one name in Kartik, and it's 1,000,000 times this and 1,000 times this, or you follow this diet, or you let your beard grow or whatever, and you get some special benefit. But the real thing of Kartik, what's the real thing of Kartik? Go to the temple. This is actually like the real essence of what Kartik is. You go to the temple, you offer the lamp to the deity, you hear the kirtan, you hear the katha. This is the essence of Kartik. And all of us, we're devotees, we're already going to that store, the devotional store, every day. And now even us who go to the store regularly, oh, it's a sale, let me go even more. Let me buy even more now that it's on sale. So like that, this is the idea Shukadeva Goswami is trying to convey to us. Use your senses, use everything for serving Krishna. And if you don't, Shrama evihi kevalam. Dharmasvanustitak pumsam visvakshena katasayat not padiyad yadi ratim Shrama evi kevalam. If you live your life with your eyes like peacock feathers, not to develop an attraction of Krishna, or you read so many things, but you don't read Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Devotion, etc. And in order to develop an attraction of Krishna, and you don't go to the temple, instead you go sightseeing, as Prabhupada says in today's purport, then Shrama evi kevalam, which is also the same as what Shukadeva Goswami is saying. The eyes are like peacock feathers, the legs are like tree trunks, your ear holes that aren't thirstily drinking in the name and the pastimes of Krishna are like snake holes in the ground, and your tongue that's not chanting is like the tongue of a frog, right? Prabhupada would always give the example of the frog croaking, making this awkward croaking sound and thinking, oh, I'm singing so beautifully. But what happens? The snake hears that croaking, comes along, snatches up the frog. So this is exactly what is being described here. And Prabhupada also focuses in the purport that especially for grihastas, especially for the grihastas, this deity worship, archana vidhi, is so important thing, extremely important thing. This is a, let's see, this is from a class. Prabhupada said, Grihasta devotees must adopt the archana vidhi, or deity worship, according to the suitable arrangements and directions given by the spiritual master. Regarding those unable to take to the deity worship in the temple, there is the following statement in the Agni Purana. Any householder devotee circumstantially unable to worship the deity must at least see the deity worship, and in this way he may achieve success also. The special purpose of deity worship is to keep oneself always pure and clean. Grihasta devotees should be actual examples of cleanliness. So this is also interesting. A couple of things interesting here. Prabhupada says also in today's purport that every householder should have deity worship in his home. And if he's unable, he should see it at the temple. So Prabhupada actually went back and forth a little bit on this point. There are a couple of letters, I think, where he wrote saying, actually don't have deity worship at home, because why detract from your worship of the deity at the temple? But then like in today's purport and the section I read, and also in many places, he also recommended that grihastas have deity worship in the home, because we've seen it's quite possible to have deity worship in the home and still to serve at the temple and frequent the temple and come to the temple. So deity worship at home can be very gorgeous and very elaborate. Actually, an enthusiastic householder can have a higher deity worship standard even than is held in the temple. And also, if a householder simply has a photo of Srila Prabhupada, a photo of Panchatattva, and he sits and chants and reads Bhagavad Gita before that every day, that's also amazing, beautiful. That's also deity worship, because the deity can be stone, metal, earth, paint, or now we have, printer ink instead of paint, to have a beautiful photo of Srila Prabhupada so that we can worship all our food. We can offer a stick of incense, just like when the deity worship first started in San Francisco, when the Jagannath deities were first carved. And Prabhupada said, you come every day and you light a candle. I guess they had like these like birthday candles, like they used to also use for Kartik. And you light a candle and you wave it before the deity of Lord Jagannath. So devotees were doing that for some time, and then the devotee said, can we do more than that? And Prabhupada said, yes, you can also offer a stick of incense, you can also offer flowers. And then they asked again, can we do more than that? I love this response from Prabhupada. He said, oh, there's so much more. And if I told you all of it, you would faint. So gradually we've learned more and more of it. And we don't have to necessarily institute every single Archana Vidhi rule and ritual and detail, but these things are beautiful when done in devotion, and the householder can do it according to his house, according to his family, according to his finances, and according to his capabilities. He can do that home worship very beautifully. And at the same time, he could supplement that by coming to the temple with all of the devotees, with the not official, but like the community deity worship. This is also beautiful, that the whole Philadelphia community can come together before Radhashard Bihari and Jagannath Baladev Subhaja and Gaurnitai and do this worship. So both of these so important, going on both of them in the home. Like I said, even if it's just a photo that you offer your food to, so you can honor proper prasad, that's also nice deity worship. And the other thing, like that Prabhupada explained, is to keep the grihastas neat and clean. This is also very nice. Everything Prabhupada would often say that about deity worship, that the key to proper deity worship is punctuality and cleanliness. So what does punctuality and cleanliness mean? This represents the mode of goodness. When you're doing deity worship properly, you're automatically elevated, at the very least, to the mode of goodness by this cleanliness and punctuality and following vidhi step by step very nicely, even like I said, even if you just have a photo and okay, every morning, 7 o'clock, I offer a stick of incense and I offer my breakfast. Even like that, something clean and regular is so beneficial in terms of the mode of goodness. And because it's to Krishna, it transcends the mode of goodness and brings you actually to the transcendental stage. This is also specifically for family life. This is also additional benefit of deity worship. Excuse me. This is from Bhagavad Gita, I can't remember now, 16th chapter. In the commentary, Prabhupada writes, the best process for making the home pleasant is Krishna consciousness. If one is in full Krishna consciousness, he can make his home very happy, because this process of Krishna consciousness is very easy. One need only chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Accept the remnants of foodstuffs offered to Krishna. Have some discussion on books like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and 4, engage oneself in deity worship. These 4 things will make one happy. One should train the members of his family in this way. The family members can sit down morning and evening and chant together, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If one can mold his family life in this way to develop Krishna consciousness, following these 4 principles, then there is no need to change from family life to renounced life. So it is deity worship. It's at the center of devotional service in general. One of Prabhupada's main missions was to open temples and install deities, and he did so many all over the world. It's at the center of ISKCON. It's at the center of the family life. It's at the center of the individual temple community. I remember I lived in Boston for quite a few years, and I was even Pujari there for some years of the very beautiful deity Radha Gopi Vallabha. And then after some years there, I wanted to get into simple living and cow protection. So I moved to Gita Nagari. And when I first moved to Gita Nagari, I was also Pujari there and had the fortune to serve the also very beautiful Radha Damodar. And then after a few months in Nagari, I went back to visit Boston. If someone can mute their mic, I hear some talking in the background. So I went back to visit Boston, and when and in the morning when the curtains opened for Mangalarti, and I put my hands up and I said, although it was Boston, the home of Radha Gopi Vallabha, just because I had been out of habit or I was brainwashed or whatever, I said, Jai Radha Damodar. And His Holiness Niranjana Swami was next to me, and he punched me for doing that, because the temple deity, loving your temple deity, your central deity, they're all Krishna, they're all the same Krishna. But that affection for your home deity, that affection for your central temple deity is a very beautiful thing to be really to be cultivated and to be appreciated. Also, deity worship is not only for the Grihastha devotees, it's for all devotees. All devotees love and appreciate the deity worship. Srila Prabhupada was no neophyte, but he loved the proper deity worship from his very childhood as a baby. He said how he would go in the baby carriage, the perambulator. They would take him to the local community, which was funded and maintained by his family. The Radha Govinda temple, he would go and he would say, even as a baby, even as a child, he would go and just look at them for hours at how beautiful they were, appreciating how beautiful they were, the Radha Govinda deities. And he appreciated deity worship so much. Sometimes he would cry upon seeing deities. He would instruct and drive, really like crack the whip on devotees, open the temple, install the deities, have sufficiently initiate trained brahmanas to do the deity worship nicely, don't neglect. Another time I think it was in early days in the Vrindavan temple, they didn't have much money for flowers, or it probably wasn't Vrindavan, but at one temple, they didn't have so much money for flowers. So they were using like beautiful first-class flowers for Srila Prabhupada's garland each morning while he was there for giving class, and use sort of like old, worn out, not nice flowers for the deities. And Prabhupada very quickly put a stop to that and said, no, the first class flowers has to be for the deity worship. So he was so fond of and appreciating and spreading that practice of deity worship everywhere and appreciating. And what's another beauty of the deity worship? Again, Krishna comes in a form that we could handle, that we can appreciate. Here's another from a conversation. Prabhupada says, Krishna's deity and Krishna are not different. I was explaining this morning, Krishna has come kindly to accept your service as you can deal with him. If Krishna comes in his gigantic form, Krishna has got gigantic form also, as it was shown to Arjuna. You will not be able to capture him, neither you have any means to dress him. Suppose the universal form of Krishna is there and you have to dress him. Well, the whole cloth factory will be finished, is it not? How you can dress? You have no capacity to dress, but Krishna has kindly accepted a form, the deity. You can purchase cloth according to your means, and with your great devotion, you can dress. So this is the beauty of the deity worship. The universal form is there. We heard a couple of chapters back that the universal form is also a Lingani Vishnur. It's in a similar way, it's a form. Someone needs to silence their mic, please.
It's Mother Golokananda Priya. She has hers. If she can.
Yeah, anyway, I'll try to go on here. What was I saying? Oh, yes, just like the universal form we heard from Shukadeva Goswami a couple of chapters back. This is actually also Lingani Vishnur. This is a form, an expansion of Vishnu, a form of Vishnu in this world. And like the deity worship for the neophytes, so that the neophytes who have no conception of God as a person, who has no conception of God as the supreme being, can see Krishna and within their mind have a conception of Krishna as a person. Deity worship is like that in one sense, but taking it to such a higher level and such a purer devotional level that all devotees can appreciate. The 6 Goswamis, as Prabhupada mentions in the purport also, so much in love with their deities and their deity worship. Sanatana Goswami, we hear of how he was, he had nothing. He was so poor. He was just begging and making a little bhati, he was begging a little atta and taking a little Yamuna water and making it into a dough and throwing those balls into the coals of a fire and eating. And he was offering to the deity because that's all he had. And the deity, because his love for the deity was so great, and the deity's love for Sanatana was so great, the deity said, "Oh, Sanatana, I know you're poor and you're offering me these dry bhatis, but can you at least get a little salt to give it some taste?" And Sanatana was replying, "Oh, I'm just a poor man. You want salt? Then you want salt, then you'll want ghee and grains and so sweets and so many things to go with it. I'm just a poor man, just be satisfied." But because of that loving exchange, eventually the beautiful temple was built for his deity, and the beautiful worship was started for the deity at the inspiration of Sanatana Goswami and with the help of a wealthy merchant. So all devotees are loving this deity worship. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was traveling everywhere he would go, he would visit the different temples and dance in ecstasy. Let's see. So this important thing, deity worship, is mentioned here. And also not just deity worship, but kshetra, using your legs for going to the temple and also going to the holy places. So again, all of these things, all these lingani Vishnu, these symbolic representations, as Prabhupada translates it, all of these things, nam kirtan, chanting the holy name, satsang, associating with devotees, bhagavat shravan, mathura vas, and archamurti, worshiping the deity, all these 5 things, these are all different lingani Vishnu, and they're so beautiful and they're so powerful. And all of these things, chanting, associating with devotees, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, visiting the temple or visiting the holy places or residing there, and serving the deity are so powerful and so spiritual that any sense of separation, any sense of removal removal between the devotee and Krishna, any sense of symbolism or representation is completely obliterated, and it becomes direct contact between Krishna and his devotees. And that's why these 5 things are listed as so powerful that just a little contact with even one of them can very quickly elevate one to the stage of Bhava Bhakti. That's why, because all of the separation is removed. And by all of these things, you're directly contacting Krishna. Just like Prabhupada also explained in his purport of I think it's Nitai Padakamala. He said Nityananda, the name Nityananda means eternal happiness. So if you somehow or other can touch Nityananda, just like if you touch the electric source, you'll immediately become electrified. So if you can somehow or directly touch Nityananda, then you also become eternally spiritually blissful. So this is the methods, this Nam Kirtan, chanting the holy name, satsanga, associating with devotees, Bhagavat Shravan, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, Mathura Vas, visiting the temple, visiting the holy places, and Archamurti, worshiping the deities. And imagine, like Prabhupada said, if you touch Nityananda, you become eternally blissful. So just imagine, and I don't have the exact quote here, but I've heard that Prabhupada has said, just imagine the fortune of the pujari that he actually gets to directly touch the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So who would want to pass up that opportunity to directly touch the body of Krishna, massage the body of Krishna, dress and undress him, bathe him, offer him food? This is the service. This is really the service of the eternally liberated souls in Vrindavan. But when Krishna comes in the deity form, he gives us a chance to literally and directly do those actual same things. We're not on the stage of the devotees who are eternally liberated in Vrindavan. Therefore, we always keep the respectful mood, like Prabhupada said that we should keep the respectful mood, like worshiping Lakshmi Narayan, even though we're worshiping Radha Krishna. And we have the very strict Vidi rules and regulations to follow, because we're not spontaneously on that mood, but still the opportunity for that service is there. And if you don't take advantage of that service, then your hands, Shukadeva Goswami, it's like the hands of a corpse. And if you don't look at that form, your eyes are like the dead eyes of a peacock. And if you don't go to the temple, or even go to your home temple, take a couple of steps to your home temple and bow down and take your kartels alone, or even better with your family, and chant Hare Krishna and offer prasad, just like those four things. You do that in your home. You worship the deity, you offer prasad, you chant Hare Krishna, and you read Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. So who would pass up that opportunity? What kind of person would pass up that opportunity? Except, what's the someone brought this up in class last week, Nina Pashugnat. Who would give up the opportunity for this except the butcher, or the person who is butchering his own soul? Vina Pashugnat. What's the start? Can someone refresh my memory? The start of that verse? Again, please. I can't hear. Anyway, I can't remember. Yes. That this chanting and process of devotional service is bhavoshadi. It's the medicine, the natural medicine for restoring our health. Bhavoshadachotra minobiramat ka uttama shloka. That also we discussed last week. Uttama shloka, Krishna, who is glorified and praised by the choicest beautiful verses of the Sanskrit literature. Ka uttama shloka gunanuvadnat puman virajeta vina pashugnat. What person would neglect worshiping and hearing about Krishna except the butcher, or the person who is butchering his own soul? So we're all devotees here. We've transcended that level of butchering our own soul. We understand the position of our soul. We understand the position of Krishna. And we just have to keep on reminding ourselves, worship Krishna, go to the temple. You have some time, go to the temple. You have some money, give it to the deity, or use it for your home deity, or use it to purchase books for your own use and for distribution. And you use it to purchase prasadam to offer to your home deity or for the temple deity. All of these things going on, we know that. And we just have to be, when we read verses like that, we're simply being reminded again and again, yes, do this. Do it more and more in quantity, and do it more and more intensely, qualitatively as well. And doing that will actually take you to the point of loving Krishna, because Krishna is there. And these are just different ways of contacting that person with whom we already have the eternal, unbreakable, loving relationship. And by contacting that person, then we wake up and realize that relationship. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, everybody, for your very kind attention. If there's any question or comment or discussion, we can do that now. Going once, going twice, sold.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
You got in just under the wire. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to share like how you said deity worship is really important, like for like cleaning, and I think getting connection with Krishna, dressing them up, bathing them, and making food for them. Everything is so nice, and
Yes.
feels, yeah, when we do that, we feel great connection with Krishna.
Yes,
I
it is.
love
It's
it.
so important. It's
Yeah.
enjoyable, and it uses all of your senses and your artistic senses to cook a beautiful meal, to make a beautiful turban, to dress beautifully, to clean nicely. It uses everything, and it's all so personal because the person is right there before you.
Yes, Prabhu. When I don't do like a bathing for like 2-3 days, then I feel like I don't feel good, Then
Right.
when I did it, I feel fresh in my mind,
Yeah.
my heart. Yeah, so I like it.
Yeah, that itself is a sign of
And
real.
you can always think about like how to decorate the deities more attractively. How Prabhupada said, like when we do decoration for deities nicely, we feel good in our heart.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's a very nice realization. And there's actually that nice section of Nectar of Devotion. Prabhupada is talking about spontaneous devotion. And he says at first a devotee goes to Mangalartik because he has to, because the alarm went off, because the spiritual master ordered him, you get up and you go to the temple. But then when he becomes advanced, he's enthused to go to the temple, and he's always thinking of new ways, how to decorate the temple, how to dress the deity, how to decorate the deity more and more. And he's actually equating this with spontaneous devotional service. So that realization you have is very nice.
Yes, I always like think how can I, decorate my Singhasan nicely. Like some week ago, I painted my, temple. It was little like rusty and all. So I painted all over new painting, and then I changed the curtain. I always think like how can I make it more beautiful? And it feels nice when I do that.
Yes, very nice.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anything else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Wonderful
Hare
class.
Krishna. Thank you.
I liked your points on Harinam Sankirtan and chanting the holy name. Obviously, that is my favorite service.
Yes.
I just wanted to give a plug if anybody wants to come join in that service today. We're chanting at Rittenhouse Square between 11 and 2, and we'll be on the 18th and Walnut Corner. And it's joyous and wonderful and blissful, and it gets better and better.
Can't do that anymore.
Hare Krishna.
Sit at a table.
Glad that you could make it. And that's also interesting. Some devotees may like one service more. Some devotees may like another service more. But we all do all of them in different degrees, in different proportions. And we all appreciate all of them. And Harinam, of course, is always at the top of the list and at the top of.
You have to see that he finishes it completely.
Anything else? Question or comment?
Be doing other things. You have to focus on him eating.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. I hope everybody has a wonderful day. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Vanchakalpatrubhyascha kripasindhubheva patitanam pavanam Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.